Take a modern man. You are watching the Australian Guitar Show. My name is Ricki. This is Neil Boland. Is it pronounced Boland?
Yeah.
Are you any relation to Wes Boland? Or is that Wes Boland?
Wes Boland, no.
Ah, it's Wes Boland.
Yeah, and no relation to Mark Boland either.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't he Boland?
Yeah, but people still ask, you know.
Oh, you see, and that's funny because I was sitting there before thinking, right, what are some funny things I can say? And just like that, my funny things mean nothing.
Yeah.
They're just out the window.
Straight out the door.
So, yeah. Hey, now listen, you are a busy man.
Yeah.
And you have a day job.
Yes. Like many musicians do, yeah.
I've heard of day jobs. I had one many, many moons ago. Work is another 4-lettered swear word.
Yep.
No, I gave myself no option.
I guess I do the day job thing because it allows me not to, I mean, no offence to anyone who does this because it's a legit thing to do and I have done it. It sort of keeps me out of the wedding gigs and it keeps me out of, the corporate gigs. I mean, some of the corporate gigs are actually a lot of fun. But I decided a few years ago that I just didn't want to do sort of covers band stuff. I just got to the point where it's just like, well, I own all this very nice equipment and I've done a lot of this practice and I guess I'm at the point now, I guess in my mid-30s, I was like, I think I'll just go back to playing the music I like to play like I did when I was a teenager, except, you know, it's different style now. Like back then it was the heaviest of metal, but now it's like, well, I just want to go out and play the blues and I want to go out and play funk and soul and all that kind of stuff. So I'll go and get a day job. That's crazy enough to work. I used to live up the far north coast in Lismore, up near Byron Bay, and I was a student up there of guitar at Southern Cross Uni there. And my life was kind of opposite at that point. You know, like I had pretty much no day job, but because the rent was a bit cheaper living inland from the coast and not on the coast, and plus, you know, I rented my folks' place, which was very, very privileged.
Win-win.
I could survive on maybe 2 covers gigs a week, a duo gig doing jazz stuff in cafes around the Northern Rivers, and maybe the occasional country music gig would come up every few months, and then I'd have the luxury on a Wednesday night to go and play some jazz at the local, you know, sort of regular jazz gig, doing fusion stuff as well. So it was awesome musically. You don't let go of your roots at all. Like maybe, you know, while I was studying, I might have pushed them aside a little bit because, you know, when you're studying, you're like, I want to be this sophisticated jazz guy, and, you know, blah blah blah, which was a dream for a while there. But, you know,
the stuff that I've seen you doing online, because you've got several avenues online. You've got Hawker Heights.
Yep.
Pickpocket.
Yep.
Pickpocket. You've got the Blues
Guitar Snacks.
Guitar Snacks, that's right.
The experimental Instagram channel.
Yeah, and it's got some great little tidbits and information on it.
Yeah.
And then you've also got a new thing called Off the Leash, which I see hasn't got any posts yet.
Off the Leash is it's actually started a couple of years ago by some horn players that I know, and they're basically the band leaders of that, and it's a tribute band to Tower of Power. But I've always said with the Tower of Power thing, it's more of an indulgence for musos in the band and musos in the crowd. So for the musos in the band who would have used to have played Tower of Power back in their college days poorly, now we get the opportunity to play it with awesome musicians and try and get it as on point as possible. and then the other side of the coin, there's the musos in the crowd going, better be on point, you know.
Yeah.
So,
and you can always pick musos in a crowd.
oh, totally.
They all dance like this.
Yeah, if you can call it that. Yeah. Yeah, bit of Tower of Power. But it's a lot of fun to play those songs. Pickpocket's an instrumental jazz funk group which is led by Craig Strain, bass player, and he's a very productive songwriter and arranger. So it's pretty much his baby. It's a 3-piece horn section, me on guitar, Craig on bass, a drummer. Did I say keyboardist? Yep, and quite often a percussionist as well. So
yeah, cool.
We'll do the Jazz Lab. We've got Paris Cat this Friday night. Plug.
I better try and edit it and have it ready by Friday. I'll release this Saturday morning.
Well, if you see this after the gig, it was awesome.
Oh, mate, packed to the brim.
Yeah. So that's sort of inspired by like instrumental funk bands.
It's a dumb question to ask guitarists, but who would you maybe classify as some of your favourite go-to guitar players?
Oh no, there's some I'd always come back to. I mean, like from my teenage years, I'd be looking at my collar's inside out.
Yeah, it is.
What a ruffian. I guess going back to my I can sort of divide it into decades. You know, like teenage years, it's definitely guys like Marty Friedman, who's like one of the most melodic heavy metal players I've ever heard. Nuno Betancourt as well. I can't play anywhere like that. I got close as a kid, but it's gone. And then through the sort of like jazz and blues years, John Schofield, definitely just for pure creativity and thinking outside the box melodically and just being a master of his own language as well.
Mahavishnu Orchestra? Was he with them?
No, that was
John McLaughlin. Yeah, different John. Sorry,
yeah,
I get my
there's
Johns.
a lot of Johns. Yeah,
Always go to the wrong John.
Yeah, there's a few in the jazz and the jazz fusion side of things, and then there's the blues guys, all the Kings, BB, Freddie, Albert. Robin Ford was a massive hero of mine for a good amount of time, and probably still is when I'm actually playing in that sort of context of the blues.
Now you've got quite a few funky guitars in your collection as well.
Yep.
You know, I've seen you've got like you've got 335 and the tallies and stuff like that. So and then you've got this, which we're going to talk about very shortly. But before we get onto the onto your Jim Mills, what else you got sitting there?
Yeah, I got the Telly last year, the year before, and within the space of 12 months I got an 06 Les Paul, which used to belong to a guy called John Dallymore, a great guitarist in Melbourne who used to play for John English and stuff like that as well. So a nicely worn in Les Paul, and I've been playing those two mostly. Before I had this, which is really funny, the luthier who built this, Jim Mills, I was bringing him an Ibanez RG, and he used to just like almost banish me out of the workshop. It's like, not this bloody thing again, you know, like, because up in Lismore and Byron, it's really humid up there, you know, and because it's made of a thin neck and all that kind of stuff, it was like, the Floyd was like, within 2 weeks, the Floyd's sitting up like this and the neck is forward and all that stuff. Like, if you're a heavy metal guy up in the Northern Rivers or Queensland, you've got to be dedicated to your setups.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a good place to be a luthier then, obviously. It's lucrative.
Lucrative, yes. He lives about 15, 20 minutes southwest, I think it is from memory, from Casino. He had two workshops. He had his home workshop where pretty much he did all his building. He had actually made an acoustic guitar for my guitar teacher, Jim Kelly, who was the lecturer at Southern Cross Uni. It's a gorgeous sounding instrument.
He's a great player, man.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, his albums are great.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah. So that's the two Jims of the Northern Rivers guitar scene. But so Jim,
not as popular as John's.
No,
no,
definitely not. Jim Mills had a workshop in a music store in Lismore in town, and there was these two music stores while I was studying up there and gigging across the road from each other. And you know, of course, the music scene being the music retail scene being the music retail scene, you'd shop at both because one could only sell one thing and the other one would only sell the other. So one would be the Fender shop and the other guy would have all the Ibanez on the wall. And the shop across the road had a couple of Fender Strats, and it was time to get rid of the RG at the time. Thought I'm going to grow up and play a Stratocaster, but I can't afford it because I'm a student and I'm not gigging that much, you know. None of the stores in town could offer me a payment plan, including the one across the road and the one that Jim was working out of. And Jim got sick of pretty much setting up my RG. And he said, look, I'm pretty much tired of setting up your guitars. Let me build you one. And I said, I can't afford it, Jim. And he said, look, I've got one of my prototype Strats here that is in perfect working condition. You borrow this, right? Give me a 10% deposit on the value of the guitar, then tell me what you want. And he says, every time you go and do a couple of gigs, give me more money and I'll keep working on it. So over the course of about 6 or 8 months, back down to the workshop, a couple $100 more. And he's like, yep, I'll go and carve the body out now, and a couple $100 more. And it's like, yeah, I'll get your frets done.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool of him to do that. Really cool. So by the time it was like 2 months before it was time to leave town to move down to Melbourne, that's here, I had this brand new customised guitar pretty much for the same value as a custom shop Fender.
Well, it's a lovely looking guitar. I mean, the neck on it's got that. It's like is it a bird's eye maple? It's called
bird's eye maple. Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's a lovely grain.
And this is actually part of it too. It's not just look, as far as I'm aware, and what Jim was telling me at the time, people can correct me or argue about it on the internet all they like, is that this not just an aesthetic choice, but this particular piece of maple was actually Jim found it to be quite hard. And really good for stability, and he's right. The truss rod's virtually doing nothing. I reckon since I got this in 2002, I've had 5 real setups done to it.
Wow, and it's a heel truss rod too, because I can see there's no truss rod up here, so it's obviously in the heel.
It's in there, yeah. So
that's a big commitment when it's
massive commitment, and lucky the neck holds its own really well, because I'd hate to have to take this off all the time. Even though I play a lot of blues now, I haven't been playing a lot of blues on this. So I haven't been really pushing the strings across the fret wire too much. Played a lot of fusion and funk and stuff on it, and soul music. So it's been a pretty straight ahead gigging guitar. Haven't been shredding it up. When I first got this, it was set up for 11s, and I was playing 11s on it for quite a while. And it's a bit of a culture shock to someone who's been shredding it up for 10 years beforehand. So
like 9s or something, yeah.
Yeah, I had a 9s on it, but this has got it's got like a hybrid gauge. I think it's 10 to 52.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, so it stops the bottom from flubbing out too much. I've done a few things since Jim built it. It's a really nice piece of alder as well, so I think it's a 2-piece.
Well, I like the contouring on it too, because it looks like the rear contour looks deeper than usual. Yeah,
so basically he's Jenny Craig proofed it for me. As well. So I actually said, this is one thing I asked for, is that he asked, I got a little bit more carved out of the back here. A little bit thinner here, so it's a bit more comfortable if I actually ever want to hold it at a lower strap height. And it doesn't really dig into my arm so much here, so it's a bit more carved back here, but not much. But
no, it's just aesthetically you can see that it kind of just rolls a little bit more fluidly than a typical Strat. I
got a perfectly good bone nut from Jim Mills when I got it, and then about a year or so after moving here, I ended up finding out about the buzz feet and tuning system. Yeah, and I got it done, and it cost me a fortune, and I loved it, and it actually worked. For me, it actually worked because I was playing a lot of funk and soul stuff and fusion stuff where I was playing maybe, the same triad or the same voicing up high, and it was perfectly in tune with the keyboards. It really did work, but I was getting sick to death of having a strobe tuner. After about 2 or 3 years of that, and using 2 tuners on the board, and it's like, Strat time, okay, over to the strobe tuner. And the strobe tuner too, I found, was just like jumping all over the place at noisy gigs and all that kind of stuff. So I got really tired of it. It's had 3 nuts since I bought it. The first one, the one that I regretted putting in the middle, and the one that I just got. And the funny thing was, I took it into Jeremy, and because I'd taken it to him for basic setups before, and this one last time I went to him, and he goes, I said, yeah, Jeremy, I want a basic setup, but I want something else. And he goes, don't tell me you want the feet and taken out. I said, yeah. And he said, oh, look, I've been waiting for you to ask me to do that. So that's Jeremy's new nut.
That's awesome. In
there. And I've still got the sticker on the back to remind me never to do it again.
Yep.
And it's had a couple of sets of pickups since. I've got a very collectible set of pickups that I don't use in it anymore.
Right.
When I first got the guitar, Jim was actually quite good friends with Chris Kinman from Brisbane.
Yes.
And he had a set of prototypes of they weren't noiseless, but they were quiet pickups without being noiseless, prior to him making them for Buddy Guy and Eric Clapton and all those kind of guys. So I got these one-of-a-kind Kinman's put in, because I told Jim at the time I wanted to be a jazzier guy and I wanted to be a more mid-rangey sounding Strat, and it sounded beautiful for that, and for years that's how I played it. But I got to a point, and maybe it's just getting old and you just want to sound like all the blues players, you know, you want to scoot mid-range like a Fender has. So I changed these out to Fender Fat 50s, which was in the American Standard series for a long time. Did that, loved them, and then changed my mind again and wanted it even more bluesier, and I've ended up with a $120 set of Tex-Mex. This is a really cheap way of finding out whether I really like Texas Specials or not. The bridge is bitey, really bitey. It's good for you, very Jimmy Vaughan, you know. Pretty much my core reason for not wanting standard Stratocaster pickups in the first place. Ironically, wanted my Strat to sound a little less Stratty, you know. But now that's all I want. I just want it to be what it is.
But I think that's the joy as you've discovered owning other guitars. You know, that you kind of realise that the character of a guitar really is with what it's meant to be.
I think that Telecaster of mine, my 06 Telecaster, was the one that's just sort of showed me that, like, oh, Leo got a few things right the first time, didn't he?
He did pretty well.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, okay, we can put Kinmans in and we can put Fralins in, and, you know, like, and I'm yet to try Fralins in this. That'd be pretty cool. But I like how it sounds nice and trashy and bluesy at the moment. It just sounds like a bit of trash, which is a bit of classy trash. Probably another reason why I didn't get a telly for so long is the fact that when Jim also put push-pull in here as well, and that runs bridge and neck together in this position here. Yeah. And I think it actually runs a little bit of bridge through fourth and middle as well.
So you can get all three running, or two out.
Yeah, so that, like, for years when I was playing sort of Tower of Power and sort of Motown style funk and stuff like that, that was pretty much my sound through the entire gig. But then, of course, when you get a telly, you go, oh, that's a real telly, you know. But this, you know, that's where the versatility was in this, for sure. My last two guitars, like I say, the Telecaster and the Les Paul, are, you know, the first time I've actually really bought used instruments. And it's like, it was worth it because I got to try the same model and compare as well. Oh, yeah, and by the way, Anthony, you're welcome. I've, you know, kept him in business with two guitars in the last 2 years from him, so...
That's a free set of strings in that for you next time you visit there, mate. I look forward to seeing your post. Hayes scored some free strings.
Yeah. A big shout out to the Guitar Colonel of South Melbourne, Clarence Street, right near the phone store.
I love his YouTube channel.
You get some cool players in too. But him and his friend Nigel Dalton, who I've actually known for quite a while too, he's sort of like been a sort of a pen friend to me. He works in marketing and he's sort of been a distant mentor to me, and it just turns out that he's friends with Anthony as well. So I like how they sit down and work out tunes together on a Saturday morning, and, you know,
and drinking beer.
Yeah, I know.
Turn it into a YouTube sensation. I'm sorry, mate. I've got some yoga mats. Yeah. We could do some yoga if you'd like. We could talk guitar and do yoga-tar.
We could.
There you go. So that could be the whole new thing, yoga-tar. And we do yoga. We do some downward dog, and then we talk about some blues music.
They need yoga big time.
That's a good thing, man. I may not look like I do it, but I love it.
No, I can tell you got the mats.
Good. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Having said that, I did go back to the gym for the first time in years, a few years ago, and just to get the upper body strength back up again, literally because I noticed I was getting worse and worse at lifting my amp in the back of the car.
Right.
And I just needed to have
a smaller amp.
More in the legs so I can bend my knees, and just more in the upper body so I didn't kill myself.
It's more of a reason just to buy like a
Blues Junior.
No, or a even worse, just like a XX. What are they called? XFX8s or whatever they're called, or something.
A fractal.
Just use one pedal and straight into the amp, straight into the PA.
I'm still too much of an old soul.
Nah, man, I'm in the same boat. Like I've got this. This is digital, and obviously some of my pedals are kind of digital.
It
but
sounds pretty good. Yeah. If you lived next door, you wouldn't know that was tube or digital at all, would you? You know.
Man, well, thank you so much for coming over and hanging out.
Probs.
I really appreciate it.
It got deep.
And, it's cool to kind of hear about what you're doing and a bit of your background and where you're from and to see your guitar.
Yep. Big shout out to Jim Mills, by the way, and still building acoustic guitars up the North Coast as well.
I've seen his website. I've seen some bits and pieces on there.
It's pretty cool.
He's not doing a lot on, there's not a lot on
the
social media?
No, I've been trying to egg him on a little bit, but
Yeah, well, it's not the
But you know what, his reputation is pretty much beyond the internet up there, I think, you know.
Well, and I think that, some people, you spend time on the internet, that means you're not building. Yeah. And if they're not building, that's kind of a crime. So
whenever you've got a project to do, you've got to disconnect the Wi-Fi.
That's it. Yeah. Too cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Appreciate it.
Till next time.
Neil Boland, not Boland, no relation. What an idiot. Not him, me. I'm an idiot. So I should clarify
We're all idiots. For doing this, we're all idiots.
Yeah. So he's the first one. You'll make you sound like a thing. You're not a thing. He's the first muso I've chatted to about his Australian guitar, and I've got a few others kind of coming along. And looking forward to it. And so thank you for breaking my virginity with this particular episode.
My pleasure.
We'll catch you later. Hooroo.